And I want to welcome everybody to tonight's webinar. We're calling it The Science Behind Protandim and Nrf2 Activation. So many of you may be distributors on the line. Some of you may be guests and wondering what the heck this is all about. But what we're going to focus on this evening is the science behind Nrf2 activation. So we're not going to cover every single product that LifeVantage makes, but we're going to take a deeper dive into the science and go back a little bit in time to kind of give you an idea of how we got to this point, where we are right now. So with no further ado, let's jump right in so that we're not strangers here. My name is Gary Stern. Previous to LifeVantage, I was a physical therapist for 6 years, a pharmaceutical rep for 13. I was in the medical industry essentially for 19 years. I'm married 15 years. I have a beautiful 11-year-old son. Passion is bicycle racing. I also love to surf and snowboard and pretty much any of those crazy sports. Golf's my only, I guess, normal sport, the quiet one out of all of them. But being a bicycle racer, I was a supplement junkie pretty much my whole life. I mean, I've taken handfuls of supplements to try to either race faster or to try to work through pain or to try to get an edge on my competition. And the interesting thing was how this opportunity first fell in my lap. How I learned more about LifeVantage was through the science side. In fact, many of you know Simon Kessler. He's a former professional national champion of South Africa many times over, an incredible cyclist, great coach. And he introduced this to me and shared a video with me, which coincidentally I didn't even watch the first time around. But it was when he shared the clinical study, the very first one that was ever done on LifeVantage. That's what sold me on this product, on Protandim, and sold me on taking a closer look at LifeVantage at the end of the day. After just 2 weeks of being on Protandim, I was getting a deeper night's sleep. And after just 4 weeks, I mean, I hadn't dreamed in years. And so now I finally had the opportunity to dream again. It was awesome. And after 4 weeks, I was more energized. I felt like I could wake up before my alarm clock went off. I felt like I had more energy throughout the day. And 6 weeks after starting Protandim, I did a couple of hard days on the bicycle, very hard days of training, the kind of training that normally you'll take a day or two rest afterwards, and instead went straight into a power test using an objective meter on my bike, looking at a power meter. And I broke all kinds of power records that day. And the crazy thing was it was very similar to the story that Simon has on the product as well. So we kind of collaborated, and I called him up. I said, there's got to be more to it than that. That's when we started to talk more about the business side. But I want everybody to understand my passion is definitely on the science side of this. That's how I initially came into LifeVantage. I joined because of the science, because of the results, but also, guys, because of the future of Nrf2 activation and having exclusive rights to it. So let's talk about what that looks like. Now, much of what we talk about this evening, it can be validated on pubmed.gov. What PubMed is it's the National Institute of Health. It's their database of peer-reviewed science. It's our US government's website. It's where doctors go, where medical professionals go to do their research. And if you go there, you can see, back when I started, it was so funny. I was saying this to Simon earlier today. There were only 72,000 studies on oxidative stress. That was 5 years ago. In the last 5 years ago, the number of studies have more than doubled in just 5 years. And you can see on that graph there on the right-hand side, the results are going up exponentially right now. The research on oxidative stress is through the roof. Over 150,000 clinical papers have been peer-reviewed and published on the topic. Now let's look at what's a solution for that problem, and that's Nrf2 activation. So if we do a search on pubmed.gov for Nrf2, you'll see over 6,000 studies have been completed on Nrf2. Look at the results by the year, and that was around 2,000, I think around 1,800 or 2,000 studies just 5 years ago. So the amount of research has tripled, almost quadrupled in just 5 years on Nrf2 activation. So it's definitely a hot topic right now, one that you're going to hear more and more about. So let's drill down one more level. What's the most potent Nrf2 activator that we know of? And that's Protandim. And you'll see there are 18 peer-reviewed scientific journal articles on the topic. When I started with LifeVantage 5 years ago, there were 7. So again, that number has more than doubled, almost tripled in just 5 years. The reason I share that with you is I want you to understand where we were and where we are now and how fast things are moving. So what is Nrf2 activation all about? It's the solution for a problem that many are just now learning about. Oxidative stress, you'll see in the graph on the right-hand side, that's also free radical damage. It's linked to hundreds of different diseases and conditions that plague us as we get older. It's literally the cause of aging, if you want to look at it that way. And if you look on the left-hand side there, you'll see it graphically shown like with an apple, how that apple oxidizes over time or begins to get attacked by the air that we breathe that keeps us alive. And you notice that the apple just basically shrivels up the same way that a cell does when it gets attacked by that free radicals. Those free radicals are byproduct of the air and the food that we breathe and we eat. So you can see that cell with oxidative stress is damaged. Protandim works to activate Nrf2. Nrf2 signals your body to go and release its own natural enzymes that reduce oxidative stress an average of 40% in 30 days. So looking back at those cells, do you want your cells to age like that, or would you rather slow that process by 40%? Again, that process, look at everything that it's linked to on the right-hand side there. So this was the initial study that kicked it all off with Protandim. And basically in normal lingo there at the bottom, they looked at human subjects. They basically drew their blood before and after using Protandim for 30 days and 120 days. And what they found was that within 30 days, the oxidative stress levels were reduced by 40% on average, and that age-dependent increase was eliminated. So essentially, those folks had aging of their blood the same as somebody, if they were 70, the same as somebody that was 20, for instance. You'll also notice that the enzyme levels were increased in your body. SOD 30%, catalase 54%. So basically the conclusion was we can slow the cellular aging or the oxidative stress by increasing the body's own natural production. Instead of taking all these different things, we can help the body make more of its own. Well, that obviously ignited a firestorm in the media. And ABC sent out John Quinones to do an investigative news report that originally aired in 2005. This was a one-of-a-kind. There's never been anything like this in the nutraceutical industry before, where you have such a public figure essentially giving third-party support or validation to the product. I'd love to tell you everything that happened, but here's the deal. The video is available online. You can go to ABC Live It. You'll note the link over there on the right-hand side. Go check it out for yourself and see what kind of results John Quinones had when he made himself a guinea pig. That 9-minute video ignited this company and sent it literally into oblivion, the stock initially. It also raised so much awareness that many other news channels picked it up. You'll notice the Today Show on NBC, PBS, the Wall Street Journal printed an article. American Heart Association got involved. Donny Osmond got involved, was interviewed on Dr. Phil. You see Montel Williams down there on the right-hand side. The original scientist that helped us discover Protandim, Dr. Joe McCord, received the Elliott Crescent Medal for his work on free radical biology. So when you sit there and you look at this, and then of course Sanjay Gupta mentions it in his book, Chasing Life, The Quest for Immortality. So when you sit there and look at the gravity of this, a whole lot of exposure started to take place with a company that really was just getting their start as a research and development company. So let's go into a little bit more detail. What is Protandim? We already know that it reduces oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days. Protandim is an indirect antioxidant. Instead of taking antioxidants that work one-to-one to neutralize or get rid of one free radical at a time, what Protandim does is it activates your body's own enzymes, and it's your body's own enzymes that eliminate up to 1 million free radicals every second of every day. So your body's own enzymes are far more powerful, they're safer and more effective. And the power from Protandim really comes from the synergy. You'll see an 18-fold increase in activating Nrf2. That 18-fold increase is over any one of the individual ingredients. So although they may be mild Nrf2 activators by themselves, the power is really in the synergy of how they work well together. Of course, we talked about the 18 science-based peer-reviewed studies. You can find those on lifevantage.com under the science section, or of course, just go straight to pubmed.gov like we were talking about earlier. And the interesting thing about Protandim is it's patented. So this is protecting us into the future. There's 8 exclusive patents, 6 of those in the US, 2 outside the US. More and more patents are coming as we go into different countries. And as we expand our product offerings, there's new patents coming out on those product offerings as well. So I encourage you to stay tuned, but realize that we have a lot of protection there helping us for the future so that nobody can copy what we have. This is out of a newsletter that goes out, but you'll see the ingredients. I used it because the ingredients are listed across the bottom there. You'll note that it's milk thistle, turmeric, ashwagandha, bacopa, and green tea extract. Basically, those 5 plant ingredients, when put together, have that 18-fold increase at activating Nrf2. That Nrf2 activation signals our body to increase its survival genes. And those survival genes are what then reduce the oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days. And you can see those features and benefits listed there in the center of the screen. So one of the studies, and I'm not going to go into all 18 of them, I'm going to pick out a couple of them that I feel are the most powerful studies based on what I've read in them, who did them, and what they found. And one of them was done by Louisiana State University. They looked at Protandim in mice. And compared to the mice that took a basal diet, meaning those mice that were not on Protandim, those that were on Protandim, their skin tumor incidence was reduced by 33%, and the multiplicity of the tumor growth was reduced by 57%. Here's some of the findings out of that study. This is the actual abstract, and you'll note that last sentence there. Overall induction of antioxidant enzymes, or increased production of antioxidant enzymes by Protandim, may serve as a practical and potent approach for cancer prevention. When you're talking to somebody who lost his mom and dad to cancer, that is a powerful, powerful statement right there. That's what I needed to see, was that kind of science that sold me on telling my wife, we're going to take this for the rest of our lives. The people that we love and care about, they're going to take this for the rest of their lives as well. So let's lead into one of the next studies, and that was done by Virginia Commonwealth University. And this one blew me away because of where it was published. It was published in the Journal of Circulation. That's the Journal of the American Heart Association. That goes out to every cardiologist worldwide, but more so in the US than the other countries. I know some of the other countries have their own journals, but still Circulation does have worldwide appeal. And what they found in there was that Protandim prevented fibrosis and capillary loss and preserved right ventricular function despite continuing pressure overload. What that means is it basically prevented that scarring and the loss of capillaries, of blood vessels, and it helped to preserve the function of the heart. And here's again that statement highlighted right at the bottom of the actual abstract itself. All of these clinical studies are available for you to look at to prove to yourself and to others what we have and just how powerful the science is that we have. Well, that leads into Protandim for the outside. Up to this point, we've been talking Protandim for the inside. True Science is the skincare portion of our product regimens. And what True Science is essentially Nrf2 activation for our skin, for the outside. You'll see some of the benefits. True Science, this is what the Nrf2 activation component does for you. It mitigates those visible effects of skin damage that's caused by oxidative stress, steps up your skin's own protective barriers, provides protection against environmental assaults on the skin, and it counterbalances the visible negative effects of sun-related damage. bottom line, in 28 days, there's huge noticeable improvements through using True Science. In fact, they did an 8-week clinical study of over 80 people, and you'll see that the little highlight at the bottom there of the screen, it talks about the clinical study. But look to the left-hand side, 95% of those in the study said their skin was more moisturized and better hydrated. They had smoother skin, 94%. 88%, almost 9 out of 10 said their skin was brighter and more luminous, and 87% felt like they had younger looking skin. These were all what the clinical users said. These were part of a satisfaction test, 86 women, and it was self-reported. What that means is the company didn't feed them what they should or shouldn't say. They just asked them, what do you notice best? What do you like best? What are some of the things that you notice the most? And these were the answers that kept coming up time in and time out. I mean, when you look at those kind of satisfaction results, all of them are over 3/4. All of them, except for the very last two at 28 days. But at 56 days, everything's above 80%. That means 8 out of 10 reported the same types of benefits over and over again. And again, a picture speaks 1,000 words. This shows you at the end of 2 months how the crow's feet or the lines on the corners of the eyes are reduced. On the corners of the mouth is reduced as well. I know I've been using the regimen for over almost 2 years now. And I've had people say to me that my skin looks better now than it did before. I had a lot of sun damage from being out from all the years of surfing and cycling and working outside when I was a kid doing landscaping and yard work. So definitely check this product out. But again, the focus of tonight isn't necessarily testimonials. It's to literally give you the science behind what we have. So people were giving their pets Protandim. Why not create a dog Protandim? And that's what Canine Health is. It's the same active ingredients that are in Protandim, those same 5 plant ingredients, but with collagen and omega-3 in a chewable form. This reduces oxidative stress in our pets. It supports brain, skin, and eye function, normal joint function, mobility, and flexibility, and it supports cognitive function at the end of the day. And again, it's not just anecdotal evidence. There's actual clinical study evidence. That's one clinical study that you see the picture of on the left-hand side. That was a case study that found that the dog had more energy and was able to actually run farther and run faster as a result of being on Canine Health versus not being on Canine Health. The results that I listed, though, on the right-hand side were from literally our flagship study that was done on Canine Health. What they found in a 60-day multi-site double-blinded placebo-controlled study on 80 dogs. What that means is it lasted 2 months, was done in multiple locations. Double-blinded means that the dogs didn't know what they were getting, obviously, but neither did the people administering the pills to the dogs. They didn't know if they were giving them placebo or not. Everybody was blinded in the study, and half the dogs got active Canine Health, half got a placebo or sugar pill. And what they found was that the active group showed a lower average owner disability score versus the placebo group. In fact, 27% reduction in disability in the dogs who were on Canine Health versus only a 2% reduction of those that were on the placebo. There was a 36% increase in catalase. Remember, that's that survival gene or enzyme that's good for you, and an 11% versus an 11% decrease in catalase in the placebo group. That means that the placebo dogs had less beneficial enzyme production, whereas those that were treated actively with Canine Health, their enzyme production went up. That's why they had the slowing of the oxidative stress. That last point was the kicker. There's no, in dogs that you can't, they're not going to fake it. They're not going to say, oh yeah, I think I'm feeling it or I'm not feeling it. You don't get that effect like you might get in a human clinical study. So the crazy thing was that the vet techs, as well as the owners of the pets, as the study was going on, it was clear to them whether their dog was taking placebo or not, or whether they were on the active product. By the end of the study, every single one of the vet techs and owners knew exactly which the dog had gotten, either active or placebo, before they were told. It was so blatantly obvious in the group that got the Canine Health versus the group that got the placebo. So lastly, I threw Axio in here. I had a little conversation with Simon about this. Threw Axio in here. Axios are all natural, guilt-free physical and mental energy product. So why am I listing it when our main focus is on Nrf2 activation? And the reason why I listed it, and we'll get to that in a second, we'll jump right in. It's because internal testing, some of the testing that was done by our former chief science officer within the company, basically confirms that New Zealand pine bark, which is one of the ingredients in Axio, is actually the second most potent Nrf2 activating product known to man at this point. So Protandim is the most potent activating Nrf2. But New Zealand pine bark actually has some Nrf2 activation properties of its own, and that's not included in the Protandim formulation. So threw Axio in for that reason. It does help with balanced mood, improved mental focus and clarity with less fatigue. Low carbs, tastes incredible, no artificial flavors, colors, or sweeteners. It's sweetened with stevia, naturally occurring. Diabetic patients can even use stevia. So definitely want to check that one out too while you're at it. So this statement was published just last year. It was done at Washington State University, and what they concluded, it was on Nrf2 activation as a whole, and I'm kind of ending the whole discussion of Nrf2 with this. The health effects of Nrf2, which may well become the most extraordinary therapeutic and most extraordinary preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. It's because it's turning your body on naturally to do what it was supposed to do, all through this Nrf2 activation process. So guys, when you see that statement, and then you hear of stories like Dr. Benny Maniscalco, a Tampa cardiologist, who said that he's put over 800 patients on Protandim, and he's looked at their levels of inflammation by measuring C-reactive protein, and their levels of inflammation have come down in every single case, sometimes only a little bit, but other times very pronounced. And that's a marker that's indicative of future cardiovascular damage. Guys, that's a big, big deal. When you realize what we have our hands on, then it gets really exciting. Here's why we're still doing the education piece. We're still so early on in this process that we're the innovators. We're the early adopters, the ones that see this. We're the ones that see that the payphone's going to be replaced by a cell phone, the ones that see that a notebook or a typewriter is going to be replaced by a notebook computer. We see this trend, I saw Fred Graves do this once, where he said, over here, we have people that are still taking boatloads of antioxidants and anti-inflammatories, handfuls of supplements, and when they find out there's a better way that can help your body make its own, that shift will occur. Well, we haven't hit that shift yet. We're still early on in this adoption phase. So consider yourself to be very lucky that you've looked at it now. So let me give you a little history real quick. So in 2004, that's when Dr. McCord initially formulated Protandim. By 2005, that's when that first human clinical study came out, the one that I shared with you that talked about a reduction of 40% in oxidative stress in 30 days. By 2005, ABC investigates Protandim, does their story on prime time, and their stock, LifeVantage's stock, went through the roof to over $20 a share. Over $5 million worth of orders were received, and major universities started doing studies on Protandim itself. But LifeVantage didn't fill those orders in a timely fashion from the ABC report, tried to get it onto the shelves of GNC, and started selling some Protandim on the shelves of GNC in 2006. By 2007, we received our first of those 8 patents that I told you about. And then by 2009, because sales were failing in retail, that's when LifeVantage made the choice to go into network marketing or person-to-person distribution. Also around the same time, that first study was actually published, or the study was published talking about the therapeutic benefits of Nrf2 activation. By 2010, we released the True Science line, which is the skincare line. 2012, Biogen, a pharmaceutical company, began studying a synthetic Nrf2 activator. By 2013, again, with our change in the distribution model, we went from the failing sales back in 2006 to over $214 million in revenue by the end of the 2013 year. Same time we launched Canine Health. The following year, we launched the True Science skincare regimen and Axio energy drink, and also became a sponsor of the Real Salt Lake. By 2015, that's last year when that study at Washington State University came out talking about how Nrf2 may well be the most extraordinary therapeutic and preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. We just got a new CEO last year, Darren Jensen, who's literally leading us into global expansion and growth again because of his leadership and because of his background. He has that knowledge and that background of how to propel a network marketing company into the future. We've also launched the Microlift serum that I didn't talk about tonight. Gets rid of lines and wrinkles within 3 minutes, but doesn't have the Nrf2 activating properties. That's why I didn't cover it tonight. Same thing with Physique. Right at the end of the year, we launched Physique in time for the New Year's. It's our smart weight management platform. And now you're up to speed on how we got from there to here. So here's the kicker. Who's going to tell your friends? I love that picture. That was it, the 6 degrees of separation, right? That anyone on the planet is connected to any other person in the planet through a chain of acquaintances, and there's no more than 5 people in between you and Kevin Bacon, for instance, in that example. Guys, social media is super powerful. The word's going to get out about these products. It is. When you see what we have our hands on, and that's what tonight's webinar was all about, was to build your belief in what you have your hands on. It's only a matter of time before your friends are going to find out. Why shouldn't you be the one that tells your friends about it? So I'll close with this. The doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will instruct his patients in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. That's what we're all about, is helping to educate and seek understanding from the people that we're sharing this message with. And Thomas Edison put it so incredibly eloquently with his talk that or with his quote that he had there. So guys, we welcome you to join us at LifeVantage if you haven't already done so. Hopefully that helped build your knowledge a little bit about our product line.